I'm Antonella and this is a blank page. And it's a blank page. It's a bit of a metaphor. And it's a metaphor on then. And then we're going to go with the now. So the then is many fields of mathematics and many women in mathematics before Karen. So it's not completely empty. You see there is something here. It's a small resolution. But
the possibility.
Possibility. There were possibilities. And I decided to start, I hope you can see it big enough, with a statement that was written by Linda, and Linda Ness is present here, and I'm putting it up with her permission. I mean, she sent it to me a while back, and she said perhaps the unique aspect of the women's program is the broad focus on both the content and the culture. And this reflects Karen's view of mathematics and the wise, inclusive, and non-pretentious views. I think it's a great definition, and it applies not only to the program here at the Institute and his predecessors, but also to what Karen's influence in mathematics and at UT Austin. And one example of this one is at Austin, something that is still going on, and it should go on with the web page. It's not going, but it's help. Anyway, let's go back. Click. Now it's working. So this is this program that Karen actually cited in her speech at the dinner last night, which is the Distinguished Women Lecture Series in Mathematics. And some of us participated in the series, and it was really a great experience to come and visit. And I'll let the Austin people tell us more about it. The great thing about it is I found that Karen provided the support, the financial support, and the moral support, and the encouragement, but she put women in charge of it. And I think yesterday she put it, she cited you, Dorothy, as the mind behind it, the original mind behind it. But it's great that graduate students and young postdocs were in charge of getting in touch with women, which also gave a great opportunity to the people who visited, like me at the time, to get in touch with the community. So see if I can go back. So this is one of the programs. And then the rough, now I'm going to talk about this program here, the Institute, and the rough shape was every year was 2 lectures, and then there were a huge range of mathematical topics covered in the years. And again, so the first time that the program started, its prototype was in 1993 in algebraic geometry. And I was a postdoc at MSRI, so I'm not a geometry, I don't do geometry in the sense that it's done here typically, although much of algebraic geometry is flown to the board in the past days in disguise. But Herr Clemens was there, and he was involved with Parcity at the time together with Karen. And he told me that there was a concern about not having enough women going to Parcity. So he and Karen had thought about having a mentoring program, sort of a boot camp for women mathematicians at MSRI, where there was a special year in algebraic geometry and continuing on to Parcity. So he asked me if I could do it. I had no idea what to do. I was, of course, very intimidated by the fact that Karen was behind this. So like a perfect opportunity to do something wrong. But anyway, so I did it. And I exchanged a few emails with Karen. I was terrified. And then it continued. So that was the 1993 experience. And then after that, the program was moved to IAS, and Karen told us last night in 1994. And the first topic was gauge theory, and I think Dan and Karen were involved on the leading on this driver's seat for this program. And then there was, you can see I copied on the list from the Institute webpage. So I put it out, all the topics. And I started to putting down, in addition, I don't know, in addition, in 1996, Karen started a Women in Math seminar. She said it was a way to get the undergraduate engaged. But it turns out to be so popular, probably one of the most popular parts of the program and well attended. And every year, Karen did something for the Women in Science program. And it's very interesting. I mean, I forgot most of it. And I'm thinking about, oh, I should go back and read it. I mean, Karen also provided a lot of material to it, a lot of historic material. Now that the director of the Institute is an historian, he can probably put together all of this for the sake of the community.
May I point out that it was Karen and Julianne. I was old enough by then to know never to do anything by yourself.
Karen and Julia, I thought that it was, I mean, all the way so the historian should also change the webpage because
oh yes,
I went by the webpage. So I know that was here was Julian, of course, together with you, but for the
by the way, the list of lecturers in those is an impressive list. They should also put.
No, they are. They are
the actual lecturers.
Oh, there is.
Are impressive.
There is. I cut them through because we have 45 minutes and life is short. You're interested, go on the webpage and you see all the list. I cut them. In fact, I went through and
we had a lot of help.
I did the cut and paste, but I wanted to emphasize also this something which is unusual was the women in science, especially for the time. There was really nothing going on at the time. And so you can read, and I encourage you to read on the web pages the material of these courses, how different they are. And then we got to 2001, when at a certain point, I put it there, I wanted to put it in red, the program decoupled from Parcity, and decoupled the pairing from Parcity and become supported by the IS and focus of the IS. So the programs where the topics were related to the special program at the IS and not together with the Parcity. So I was here in that year, 2001, during the year I remember at the Institute with the transitions. And then it went on, we had an anniversary, which was 2003, and on all the other programs up to 2012 on the webpage, you can read about it. Then it became cool. So you can see after that, after 2012, then there are all these nice pictures and all the posters were put up on the webpage. So they become very graphic and very, very interesting. All the program. And then in 2019, short story, the program won the award from the AMS, so the women that the program that make a difference award. So also got this list here. So now I thought about the then, so the story about the program, and now I want to turn over to the panelists who in alphabetical order by name will tell us about the impact of the programs like Karen and UT Austin and through the program. Again, as Karen said, I will not quote all the other people who did help with her in the program. But so Andreea, Nahmod, Can you unmute yourself? See if we can.
I think I have. First of all, let me actually say how sorry I am that I cannot be there in person. And Antonella, you should have done alphabetic orders with the last names, not with the first names. I'm like, it's like I'm first. So before I tell you a little bit about how I met Karen, I mean, I sort of prepared some notes. I put quite a bit of thought of this, so I know I have only 5 minutes, but I'll do my best. And so, but before I sort of tell you, how my time at Austin, when I sort of got to know Karen, I want to tell you a little bit about myself. And so, I grew up in Argentina. I was born in Argentina, and during very difficult times, but in a family that was sort of highly educated and surrounded by very accomplished women who I look up to when I was growing up. And during my undergraduate studies in mathematics at the University of Buenos Aires, actually, I had like a large number of classmates which were women, and also a large number of the faculty who were women and taught me. And then I came to the United States, to Yale for my PhD. And there too, I had my cohort of graduate students had a large number of women. But what was notable was that the faculty was all male. And that was quite different from what I had been used to. And, but, although I was not taught by any woman, the faculty was so nice and so friendly and approachable. And we had such a nice culture in the department, and also among the graduate students, of teaching and learning from each other, that all in all, I had a great time as a graduate student at Yale. And, we fast forward a little bit to my postdoctoral years and my time at UT Austin, where I had the good fortune to meet and get to know Karen and Bob, I should say. And although Karen was officially not my mentor, in a sense, she was. And she was certainly an inspiration to me. And I looked up to her. And I know for a fact that I was not the only one, that this was the fact for many of the junior women who were in the department at that time. And this is kind of like sort of the first half of the 90s. And everybody knows that Karen was particularly engaging with her female graduate students, but it was not just that. She was very engaging also with all the junior female faculty or sort of members of the department. And she would often take us to lunch as a group, and where we will discuss math. And she took really a genuine interest in our projects and what we were working on. And actually that was quite refreshing. It's like many people ask you, what are you working on? And as soon as you start talking, their eyes glare. But Karen engaged actually discuss and ask questions, and it was really a fantastic dynamic. And I talked to Karen many times during those years, and for some reason I never found, I know that Antonella said at some point that she was a little intimidated, but I always found Karen to be so approachable and human and generous with her time and her ideas, that we talked many times during my time at UT. And having such a strong, nurturing role model and an intellectual sort of powerhouse like Karen was deeply transformative. And then we come to sort of 1997, 1998, when Karen was the distinguished visiting professor at the Institute. And I follow her as a junior member. And there's where we actually started to collaborate in 2 projects, and where actually I got to really learn geometry from Karen. And it was actually quite exciting. I used to go to her office sort of around 10 in the morning, and we would start discussing mathematics and computing on the blackboard. And more often than not, at one point, Karen would look at her watch and said, "Oh, it's 2 o'clock. We missed lunch again." And so it was quite exciting, and it was a great time. And then sort of I came to UMass Amherst as a tenure track faculty. And at that time, when I arrived, there were 2 women in the faculty, but they soon left, or one retired and the other one left. And I was the only woman in the faculty for quite a long time. And I guess that many of you know this feeling of being the only woman in a committee. But I was the only woman in the department of something like 45 to 50 male faculty for almost like 10 years. And actually the only one also in my field. So predictably, that was quite isolating. But eventually, like all universities, UMass and my department sort of realized that excellence and diversity are not mutually exclusive concepts, but that in fact go hand in hand with each other. And that understanding took a long time, but I think that in the last few years, there has been a sustained and an honest push to hire more women and underrepresented minorities. And now in my department, we have several junior women across fields. One of them is sitting in the panel, Kristin, who is one of our recent recruits. And maybe what I would like to say to wrap up is that, you know, obviously there has been a demographic shift, and we want to encourage more women to come and to stay in mathematics. But I think that there is also this thing that is the culture of mathematics. And Karen has been a tremendous force in both of these aspects, in increasing the number of women in mathematics, so in the demographical aspect, but also she has had a tremendous impact in the culture of mathematics. And what I think is that, you know, the next generations, us women and sort of underrepresented minorities, have this responsibility to also serve as role models and try to help both, you know, the push for the demographics and also the culture in mathematics. And on that note, I want to conclude. And since I'm the first one, I'm going to say happiest birthday to Karen. And thank you very much for everything that you have done and you continue to do for all of us in mathematics. Thank you, Antonella.
Thank you, Andreea.
Carina, please.
Hi, can you see me?
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
Hi. Happy birthday. I want to say the same. I'm very happy to be here. I think for me, the biggest impact of Karen has really been through the Park City program and the Women in Math program at the IAS. So I attended twice this program, and the first time, and it was still associated with Park City at the time. So the first time was in 2001. So there was the Park City program that year was in supersymmetry, quantum field theory, and enumerative geometry. And these were fields I was studying as a graduate student. My advisor was Dave Morrison, and I think he was involved in that program. And so that time, I think it really, it was still very closely affiliated. And so I went to the women's program, and then I went to Park City as well. And then I came back the next year in 2002. And it was a program then in symplectic geometry. Ironically, I'm a math biologist now, but the next year, 2003, was a math biology program. And I did not attend that because I had yet to switch fields. I did that after my PhD. And I don't know what to say except to express my deepest gratitude for these programs. So I was an undergraduate at Harvard, and I had a good number, you know, not a lot, but I had some friends in my classes, in my math and physics classes, that were women. And I never really paid much attention to kind of women in math or women in physics things as an undergraduate. I thought I didn't need that, you know, everything was fine. And then I got to graduate school. I started graduate school at Duke in 2000. And I was the only woman in my class. I think there were 13 incoming students and I was the one woman. On the faculty, there was one woman, Andreea Bertozzi, who promptly left for UCLA while I was a grad student. And so it was, an incredibly isolating experience, especially in my first couple of years. And so coming to this program kind of at the end of my first year in graduate school was, I'm going to tear up, when I talk about it, but it was just like enormously transformative and a kind of a lifeline. I met so many amazing women. I made friends who were women, and many of those friends I still keep in touch with today. Some of them I've published papers with, and had research discussions with over the years. And so I think it was, and then to be able to come back a second year, it was truly important for me to stay in grad school, and stay happy enough that in mathematics to sort of stick it out. So yeah, I think I'm not the only one who has experienced such a positive impact from that program. And so thank you. I think that's all I want to say.
That took 10 seconds, but I'll start. I'm not, was it blue before? Okay.
Oh, there we go.
So I'll start with happy birthday, Karen. I'm not as fortunate as most of you here. I've only known Karen since the 2000s or so. But I guess maybe I'm closer to the now of the then and now, but not like now, but look. So I just kind of wanted to introduce myself. I'm have very little overlap with the mathematics of this series, this conference. I'm a very applied mathematician, a computational mathematician, and I got my PhD at UT Austin in 2014. I had, hearing the stories from other women about their isolation, I felt that the department was so inclusive. We had, Math Girl Margarita night. We had, we had Karen. I think that since then, I really appreciate the impact that someone like Karen has on the department, because it really made a difference. And I think that, the environment that I was in was extremely positive. Let's see. Every single one of the programs that she thought out was super successful. And she really curated them to benefit people and women. And I just wanted to show you some photos from some of these things. I know people have been talking about some of these programs, and I don't know what programs who's been to, so I'll give you a start. So if you think of Saturday morning math group, you might think like there's a classroom where there's some kids that are working on some stuff. So I organized Saturday morning math group, and this was the first event I organized. I had to sit on the floor because it was so popular. And so I was put into this role not even knowing what it involved. And I just loved it. It was like, this is Tim Perouse, and he's explaining to all these kids like Nahmod over here how to do math and how to do his kind of math, which I think was, there was like a funny name for it. I forgot what it was. And it was just fun. There's no competition. Like parents and kids are trying to do math with each other, and then there was donuts and samosas. It was super fun. I thought that was like a huge success, and that really influenced my experience in math. I wasn't just a TA. I got to organize, which I haven't let my department know I can do. I'm keeping that. So I also participated in the IAS Women in Math program, and this is a photo from some of the students that were in the image processing one that Ingrid was at. And I had done the Park City Math Institute before, and that's where I met Rachel Ward, who's now at UT, and some amazing people that I still keep in touch with. I made lifelong friends with these people. Let's see. Karen also impacted the department at UT in many smaller ways. I organized a very short-lived math social committee. I don't know if you remember, Dan. And Karen funded us, and I don't even think she really knew how we spent the money. I think I asked you for some money, and you were like, okay. But it funded the math basketball team, and also a very lovely Thanksgiving dinner that had these are all grad students, except for some very happy faculty members that happen to be here. And for people that don't go home for Thanksgiving, so an event like this is really, I think, it helps build community among people. The last thing I want to mention, I don't think this is a picture for that, but it's related. The last thing I wanted to mention was the Distinguished Women in Math lunch. It taught me something about organizing programs for women, and I don't know if it's politically correct to say this or not, but I'm here. I think when you organize events for women that men want to go to, but can't, those are really, really good programs. There's a lot of things, there's a lot of events for women that men don't want to go to. And I feel there's a difference. And the Distinguished Women in Math, we were in the Alumni Center. It was a very nice lunch. We got to meet, really distinguished people, some of which I'm very humbled to be sharing a panel with. And I think that I was inspired completely by the people I met. I could keep going on, but I just wanted to sort of give a unique perspective of someone that hasn't even taken a class with Karen and how she's affected my career and my life. And here's just a recent photo from actually the Institute where I was with these are former UT alumni. I don't know, Adriana Salerno, Sylvia Ducci, Soledad Villar, Roberta, Yunan, Rachel, and Karen. That was a very nice, that was in between the pandemics where there was a summer where it wasn't that bad. I think, maybe it was right before the pandemic.
I think it was before.
It was 2019. Yeah, you're right. I just remember there was a downtime where it wasn't so bad.
And we were planning to do another.
Oh, that's it.
And then the pandemic.
And then the pandemic happened. That's right. Okay. My memory's not so good. But yeah, that was just lovely. And I hope to keep visiting Karen and organizing things and building community. And I've learned so much from her, and I hope to, pay that forward. I think that's all I have. Yeah, that's all I have. Thank you and happy birthday. Dusa, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. I have a different perspective because I'm of a much older generation, right? And although I came to the United States in 1978, I didn't interact much with Karen until fairly recently, in fact. And I always felt very isolated as a woman in mathematics. And because my math interests kept changing and I had family responsibilities, I didn't even begin to build a mathematics community until the late 80s and 90s. As an undergraduate, I never talked to anybody at all. And as a graduate student, I hardly talked to people. And it just took a long time for me to be able to function even as a mathematician in a social way. Now, I have been chair of the organizing committee of the Women in Math program at IAS since about 2013. I had given some lectures earlier, but I'd never really, so I had participated in the program as a lecturer, but I got more intensely involved when I was chair of the organizing committee. And I must say it's been a great experience. So this program really builds a community of female mathematicians at all levels. And it helps for the organizers and the lecturers as well as the participants. I mean, we wrote some article, Karen and me and Margaret Reddy wrote some article about WAM and its impact. And, you know, Karen had a little quote in there about how it affected the lecturers to get to know young mathematicians. I mean, it was building community, but it's building community for everybody, which is very powerful. And I think it's a wonderful thing to do. So even if you start at a very late age, as I did, you can still become more involved and feel you're having a real impact with people. Now, I was going to end with one or two quotes from participants, but one of the people who've already spoken was at WAM and basically said how wonderful it was when she started in graduate school, being so totally isolated, to come to this program, and she made friends. But there's another point somebody made, which was how it's, you know, even if you have friends, when you're in an atmosphere with lots of men around, you always feel you're being judged as a woman. You don't feel you can speak freely because you're somehow speaking for women. And she said how wonderful it was to feel free to ask questions without being judged for representing women. So she could just be a person. And that, you know, I think that's incredibly important, that we all have to just try and be people together and accept everybody, you know, whoever is interested in mathematics, we should welcome them to the community. So I want to thank Karen for doing so much for women and wish her many, many happy returns.
Yeah.
So I'm Gigliola Staffilani and I'm from MIT. So I think until about 1995 when I graduated, I knew Karen just by name. But then, as you saw in the list of programs in 1995, the summer or late spring, I came to the program here. So until then, I had to say that I had not felt very isolated at University of Chicago. I was a grad student there because with me, there were several women, and when I named some of them, you will recognize their names. So there was Totti Daskalopoulos, who is at Columbia, Mary Pugh, which is the University of Toronto, Kate Punzani at Johns Hopkins, Matilde Marcoli at Caltech, myself. So, you know, I think we did pretty well. It was a very compact group. And although I didn't see any faculty, like University of Chicago was one of those, didn't have any women faculty. I didn't really notice too much the difference. But then it was when I came in that summer of late spring here that I met Karen in person and Ingrid, Barbara Kivitz, Susan Friedlander. I mean, all of them was in the program of Waves and so on. And it kind of dawned on me, I mean, these women were women that actually got their position because just great mathematician. And I started thinking at that moment, I'm not sure if I will be recognized as a mathematician or as, you know, let's hire women because we have to be diverse. So this is something, maybe a concept that maybe I want to express here because it kind of haunted me or still haunting me somehow, right? I believe programs such as the one of these is fantastic because it's a program per se. It's not because you have to be diverse. It's because, you know, you wanted to encourage these women to be, just as was said by Dusa, in an environment which you can just ask questions without being judged, without say, oh, she's supposed to have half a brain, but actually the question's pretty good. So, right, so this is something that I feel it's important and encouraging. But my daughter, who at the moment is in a math department, applied math department, sophomore in college, made me think about something even deeper than what I'm saying, sort of a second order understanding of these programs. So she told me that she feels huge pressure about the fact there are so many programs for women in science in general, because, and this is a huge surprise, because, you know, you really have to perform well after people have put so many programs in front of you. And if you don't perform well, then you're really dumb. And I said, oh my God, I never thought in these terms, but it was a revelation for me. So I'm saying this because it is introducing diversity and encouraging diversity is absolutely something that we all have to work on because we're just better. That's clear. On the other hand, how to do that is not an obvious thing. That's why every president, every dean, every provost is struggling a huge amount on this, throwing at it a lot of money, and sometimes doing more dangerous things than useful things. So, for example, in my personal opinion, so please don't generalize this, but I think dedicating positions in a department for an underrepresented minority or a woman, I think is extremely dangerous because, first of all, they will hire just the best no matter what, because they don't want people that are not competent, clearly. But on the other hand, both the rest of the faculty and the person that gets hired in that position doesn't feel like it's really there for their research and their CV and their greatness. So it's I just wanted to throw out there that it's a complicated problem. Kind of seeing it on the other side as somebody in the hiring committee and so on. It just, it really makes me upset when I feel like, I mentioned before, dean and provost and so on, they just want to cross the box. I am dealing with the diversity and doing really things that are not useful. So the program, like the one that Karen, Chunyang, and other people organized here at the IIS, and the support of the IIS is fantastic. I mean, those 2 weeks that I spent here, I met incredible women. My roommate was Susie Week. I don't know if you know her, she's great. She's now at Siam. I cannot remember if it's but very high up in Siam. Who's Karen Smith, Michigan. And these connections were there to last. In fact, whenever, I had some issues that I believe are issues not just for my department, but in general for the community, I communicate with them, I get advices and so on. So it's great. And as was mentioned by Dusa, just having 2 weeks in which you don't really care what people think about your questions, you just ask them and you learn. It's really great. I have to say that I also kind of copied the model IUT of inviting women to talk to the particularly the group of women in the department, and we actually made that a little bit more inclusive, women and those people who are interested on those kind of issues. So if you're a man, you're interested, you're welcome to come. And some of those men realized for the first time how uncomfortable it is among the many women, which I think is something important. You need to feel uncomfortable to understand, right? So just like my colleague David Jerson said that he understood the issue with women when his daughter, who is a physicist, was the only one in the group. But until then, sure, he knew it in theory. He was definitely in favor of diversity and so on. But until the daughter was in that position and started hurting personally, he just didn't grasp it completely. So I want to say thanks, Karen, for thinking about this. Like it was mentioned, yes, you didn't have to do that. I mean, you were accomplished, you were busy, you were your students, postdocs, and so on. You didn't have to dedicate financial resources and brain power for this, but you did. And I think if we all of us do a fraction of what Karen did, I'm sure everybody would be much better off. So, happy birthday.
So I'm Ingrid Daubechies, and actually I'm sorry I'm not called Zelda. So I said something yesterday already about how Karen was first of all somebody I knew of and was thrilled to meet, and I found so different from what I expected her to be. I mean, the female version of a Mandarin, and she wasn't. And then she pulled me into Park City and the Women in Math program. And I had my doubts originally, and I was completely won over. I love how both in Park City and the Women in Math program have the different age groups in it, so that everybody, even among the undergrads, you have the older and the younger ones now, everybody has somebody to look up to and somebody to mentor. And that is such a fantastic model. And so I really like that. So I feel Karen has not only done great things, but she also has provided mentoring for would-be mentors. And I appreciate that enormously. And it has really had an enormous impact on me. I'm so sorry, Carina, about hearing about your experience at Duke, because I'm now at Duke. I am so, but I'm very proud that the math department at Duke, first of all, has more faculty now. And we have a model that I think answers one of Gigliola's concerns. So we are trying to make a special effort to hire women, but it's not that positions have been put aside. What the administration has made the engagement with respect to the math department, that whenever there is a candidate who the whole department stands behind, who they really want, they will find the money for them to hire them, even if they don't have a search. So they look harder. They only look for really the top people, but they don't have to wait until they have a search. So it really helps, but there's not this concern of, oh my God, I was hired only because of that.
And you have been very successful.
And
amazing
we need
women.
to get more.
Yeah, always more, but don't take them all.
What happens also is, I haven't seen recent statistics, but it used to be that women were typically in departments that were not as high as their own stature. And so there's lots of women at different levels, and if we all rise, then there's a whole flow. It's not that there are just a couple of women there. I mean, there are many, and it's just good to give many more chances. And I also, it was also really good for me to hear from Karen how she sometimes felt the odd one out. Sometimes I thought, oh my God, with her standing, with her stature, and because this happens to me too. It still happens, and I feel discouraged. I feel, oh my God, I don't belong. I mean, I'm shown that I don't belong. I feel, and then I find courage again, and I think, and I think many, so all the young women here, if you experience this, if there is some moment that you feel, rightly or not, that you've been shown that maybe you don't belong, it's on them. It's not on you. I mean, so just, Karen showed me that this is something that you can be made to feel for reasons that have nothing to do. So thank you, Karen.
Thanks, Kristin.
Okay. Hi, I'm Kristin. I want to start by saying happy birthday to Karen, especially as someone who has felt the repercussions of all of the work that you have done through many years. I spoke to Antonella quite a bit this summer about how times have changed from when she was a student to when I was a student, and it made me feel incredibly grateful for all of those who have been before me, and only hope that those of us who are in this position now can continue to work and make positive change. And 20 years from now, who knows what the world's going to look like. But I guess I'm here as a representative of the Women in Math program at IAS. I attended in 2015 on algebraic geometry, and maybe to piggyback on what was said a little bit earlier by everyone, having the opportunity to learn from experts who happen to be women, but not just learn from women, is something, there's something to be said there. I learned about rationality from Claire Mosan, like the leading expert in this, and she taught it. I finally took baby steps to understanding anything about arithmetic geometry from way in the background. And the caliber of the people that were teaching. I was a young grad student, so I was one of the maybe people who were trying to be mentored by all of these. The caliber of the lectures, the caliber of the people, even the TAs for the lectures. Gigliola Staffilani was my TA, and she is incredible. And getting to know these people as outstanding mathematicians who happen to be women and being able to relate to them on that level was something that I had not experienced in my field. I was fortunate to be at a university. I was at the University of Washington, who put a lot of value on diversity. I felt very much not isolated in my graduate class. There were all sorts of different types of people. Even back in the day as a grad student, you know, as my signing up for grad school was the first time I had to put my pronouns on my forms, and this was in 2012. So in terms of how the world has come, this was relatively early, and I didn't feel like I didn't belong until I started doing algebraic geometry. For any algebraic geometrists in the audience, I don't know if that rings true to you, but it wasn't that I wasn't in a place that didn't value the math that I was doing or didn't value diversity. It's just that there wasn't an overlap at the time that I started of women doing algebraic geometry. Still not so great there. But having the opportunity to come to programs like this, where you do get exposed to a community of the people who are doing the math that you're doing and can help you, and you have what Dusa said, not the concern of asking a question and feeling like you're speaking for your entire gender or any sort of other axis of minority you might identify on. It was shocking. And I, like everyone said, made a lot of friends. I'm still in touch with them. I had dinner with one of them 2 weeks ago and met people that have served as mentors for me for the past decade. And in what Ingrid just said, if they hadn't been there, I would have left a long time ago. I mean, even in the 10 years since I've been doing math, I have had many moments where I felt too isolated to continue. And if it wasn't for people, some of who are in this room, I know Angela and Antonella have both been mentors for me when I've been not so sure whether or not they knew that. Having those people that you can lean on when you're having a hard time and who make you realize that it's not you, it's those other people, and that you are valuable and your journey is valuable, and you've identified the people. Like for me, the Women in Algebraic Geometry program, or the Women in IS program in Algebraic Geometry, gave me those people. And I think without that program, I probably wouldn't be doing math here today. And I just hope that in my time, I just started a job last year, so I'm still pretty new at this, but in my time, I think the importance of what we're saying up here and what we've all realized is that if we can continue to mentor people and encourage people and make the change that was made before us, I hope that there are fewer people in the future that feel the urge to quit or feel the sort of really disheartening feeling that sometimes you're the only one in the room and you're not as valued or whatever you feel. So through the repercussions of our individual actions, I hope that the future will be better. And I can say, as someone who felt that from at least the Women in Math program, thank you to Karen, thank you to the people who started these and who work so hard to organize these, because you matter to people like me. You really made a difference. So happy birthday, Karen. Thank you very much.
Yeah. There is no, there is Lisa Traynor.
Oh,
Can you
Lisa.
wait?
Okay.
Last but not least, as soon as we get the Zoom on, is Lisa. Lisa Traynor from MSRI. Well, now on MSRI, she's zooming in. Dusa is also MSRI. And we go back from the beginning. So I did not plan this, but I'm glad that Lisa was the last in alphabetical order, because we close a circle. We go back to the beginning. We go back to MSRI in 1992. We were both there when we met, when I met Lisa in MSRI. So Lisa does symplectic geometry. But at the time, there was such a scarcity, and to get back to that, women in algebraic geometry, that Lisa jumped in and helped running this program in algebraic geometry, the first program in 1993 at MSRI. And so thank you, Lisa. And as soon as we can put you in Zoom, you can go and over here.
Okay, is it good?
Yeah, okay, go ahead, yeah,
Okay.
great, thank you.
Good. So, yeah, so, well, happy birthday, Karen. Yeah, sorry I cannot be there. Yeah, it was back in '93. I was a postdoc at MSRI and I got recruited by Antonella to be in this program. And I remember I was a mentor to Margaret Symington, who became a good friend of mine for, you know, ever since that day. But I remember how exciting it was when we had that, we had the group at MSRI, but then when the Park City program happened and we stayed connected, you know, I remember us all sitting together in the lecture halls together and like all, you know, like it was mentioned, there weren't, you know, the organizers thought there weren't enough women's applying to the program, whatever. But when we all sat together, we were just such a force, you know, and we were seeable, you know, so it was just exciting. And then I joined Bryn Mawr. So I am normally at Bryn Mawr College. And since I was local to, not far away from Princeton, I often helped on the local organizing committee for many years. And Nancy Hingston and I would often be in charge of, you know, choosing or recruiting people for the undergraduate program. And I was just always so impressed with Karen's eye towards diversity, even years ago, before it really became, you know, mainstream or trendy. You know, she was really made us aware and helped us see the importance of all the diversity and inclusion. And I would often visit the program. So a couple of years I was deeply involved in the program as giving lectures, but I often visited the program even when the topics were really different. And it was just always, I always enjoyed visiting. It was just so exciting to see the energy, and it didn't matter what the program was. The common thing was, you know, you'd go there and these women were so excited and energized. And when I was at IAS visiting on sabbaticals and I would just see the program, it would just add so much to the Institute. You know, it was just a great thing for the Institute. I mean, it was great for the women, but I think it was also great for the Institute, you know, it was completely different energy level and excitement. And so just as I've really appreciated hearing everyone's comments on the panel. And I just as I have often found, even at later stages of my life, energy from the program, this panel has also been sort of confirming, and I just appreciated this. And it's really with Karen putting all her energy into this that we got this to happen, or it has continued and had such a big impact. So thank you.
Before we turn into Karen, I want to say some few concluding remarks, at least from my part. So I'm an algebraic geometer, and when we started the program, there was really no feasible force of algebraic geometer, women algebraic geometers around. So it was very lonely. I then, at the end of the year at MSRI, I took up a tenure track position at the University of Pennsylvania, and there was no women on the faculty there. And that lasted for many years until I hired Angela, an assistant professor, then Angela left. And to this day, I'm still the only woman who went through in the math department from the assistant professor to the full professorship. And then now I'm left and I crossed over the pond. But one of the reservations that I had when the opportunity came personally to move to the University of Bologna was that I would be far away from this program and also far away from Karen also and all what this offers here. And so I want to say I didn't know Karen at the beginning. I was terrified by her, I didn't even know her, but just knowing who she was, just being in touch with her. And then I knew her through the program, and she was, we didn't overlap much mathematically, but her influence on my personal life was, mathematical life was incredible. I mean, she was always very supportive in a bit of unusual ways, but she always what I found is so incredible, it was that Karen really loves mathematics. And it's incredible, by talking with her, the energy, the love for mathematics just comes through. And she was very supportive also of the way I think of mathematics. So to me, it made an incredible difference. And I got this t-shirt. I knew that I had to wear it today, and then I realized that why. It's because there are many of the things that Karen likes here. So there are the cats, the garden, and the flowers. And Karen told me she does math like she does her garden. She just let things grow. And also cooking, there are muffins. Karen is an incredibly creative cook and a source of inspiration. And then last but not least, there are stars. You might not see them, but there are stars here. And not only because Karen thinks about the conservation law of murder, etc., but because Karen, to me, she always has eyes to the stars. And that's an incredible source of inspiration. So thank you. Thank you, Karen.
Well, thank you all. I thought you would talk more technically about running programs like this English lecture series and WAM, but I appreciate it. But I do want to say something which I just realized that the photo shoot is that, you know, you people have transformed the Institute for 2 days. You've been here and the feeling at the Institute is completely different. I know Dave still has his shoes on. Why don't you take your shoes off, Dave? Yeah, now we're really at home. We've got a whole bunch of different people and the feel of the place is completely different. And so thank you all for showing me this. And thank you for coming.
Wait, there's more? Yeah. A surprise, surprise video birthday card from some people that couldn't make it here. It's got an awkward forward by me.
Those are your secret organizing skills.
Oh yeah, I guess start this again. Yeah, this is, yeah. You ready? Oh, is the sound not working?
Yes, you can't play sound through the speakers.
Maybe through the
Through the laptop?
or something.
It's playing picture in picture.
So what should I do?
You can't really play sound through this. I'm sorry.
Will it come through my iPad?
There's the speakers here will feed back into the microphone, so we have set up for the hybrid.
Will it come through the laptop?
I don't think so, because it plugs directly into the Epson.
Okay.
What if she brought it back to you?
Is there a microphone
There's no-
she can hold next to her speaker?
I'm sorry. We don't.
I can also.
You don't have it.
Yes. Yeah, there you go. Get this. I can do this. And I can forward a link so that you guys can see it. Where do I? Up the line.
Laptop does have sound, right?
It doesn't play sound through any speakers in this.
All right.
It wasn't even playing the video.
Happy birthday, Karen. Thanks for all of your contributions for being a great mentor.
Hey, Karen.
Oh.
You have that. Okay, I'll start.
UT faculty and alumni have submitted video clips to share our birthday greetings with you.
I haven't maybe used this yet.
Happy birthday, Karen. Thanks for all of your contributions and for being a great mentor.
Hey, Karen. 30 years ago, I remember going to your 50th birthday party at your house, and I was an awestruck newbie, nervous, not really sure of my place in things, and in awe of your math years. And I'm deeply grateful for how you made the department so much better place to be. 30 years later, I'm an old curmudgeon, and I'm still in awe of your math, and I'm still in awe of your kindness.
A happy birthday, Karen.
That was when the police came.
Thank you for the influence you had in my life, and I have fond memories of coming to visit you in Philadelphia and Princeton.
Hi, Professor Uhlenbeck. Happy birthday. I want to thank you for your role in mathematics that inspired many of us to pursue a career as a female mathematician.
Hi, Karen. I'm Soledad. I did my PhD in UT Austin with Rachel Ward, and now I'm an assistant professor at Johns Hopkins Applied Math. I just wanted to say that I'm very grateful for everything you did for women in math at UT Austin and everywhere. I had a great experience in my PhD, and I think one of the reasons is the amazing, supportive, and intellectually stimulating climate that we had in the PhD program, and I think that you were one of the main reasons why we had that. So I'm very grateful for that, and I just wanted to say happy birthday.
Hi Karen, I just want to wish you a happy birthday, and I want to thank you for all the support that you gave me as a grad student in Austin.
Hi Karen, I'm looking forward to seeing you in Princeton later this week. Analysis for UT Mathematics and for my career in particular. It's been an honor and a joy to know you, and I wish you many more happy, healthy years. See you soon.
Hi, Dr. Uhlenbeck. Happy birthday. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I just wanted to say what an inspiration you are as an incredible mathematician and as someone who always lifts up the people around you. You're amazing, and happy birthday.
Hi, Karen.
So better.
In Austin. Happy birthday. I hope you're having a wonderful time. One of the best places in the country to enjoy life now. The answer. Future, warm regards.
I just want to say that every time I get the chance to support or boost a younger woman in math, I think of you and all the many things you did for us as graduate students at the University of Texas. So thank you.
Happy birthday, Professor Uhlenbeck. I was your teaching assistant many years ago at UT Austin. You inspired me to choose a career in teaching and higher education. So thank you. I wish you a very happy birthday, surrounded by love and friendship and all the good things in life.
Happy birthday. I should have. I got more videos. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's nice.
I'll send you that. See who the TA was though.
Sue Chen?
What?
Sue Chen?
Oh, yeah, no.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's so cute. Good job. Good job.